Please like this video. I really need your support right now. It's the only way this story can reach more people. Thank you so much for being here with me and for your support. The first time I knew it wasn't stress was the way she laughed. Not the polite little smile Lauren gave the cashier. Not the quiet chuckle she used when my dad told the same story for the 10th time. This was the full laugh. The loose, unguarded one. The one that used to belong to our kitchen at midnight when we were still 6 years younger and still looked at each other like we were on the same team. I was standing just inside the restaurant, coat still on, hands still cold from the parking lot, watching my wife lean into a booth like she had all the time in the world. She told me she was having dinner alone. "I need to clear my head," she'd said. "Just me, quiet food, no talking. Quiet food." In the corner booth, Lauren wasn't eating quiet food. She was angled toward a man I'd never seen, her shoulder almost touching his. Her fingers brushed his forearm like it was an accident they both enjoyed. He was grinning at her like he'd earned it. And she was giving him that laugh. I walked forward like I was headed to the host's stand. Calm, straight, no rushing, no stomping. I didn't want the room to feel me coming. I wanted them to feel me arriving. Lauren spotted me when I was maybe 6 steps away. Her laugh cut off so fast, it was like someone yanked the power cord. Her face drained. Not confusion, not surprise, panic. The expression of someone caught crossing a line they already knew existed. The guy beside her jerked in his seat, eyes darting toward the aisle like he was mapping an escape route. I stopped at the edge of the booth. Looked down at him first, not her. "Sit," I told him. "Don't do the sprint thing. Not right now." He froze halfway between standing and pretending he wasn't standing. Lauren's voice snapped up sharp. "Nathan, what are you doing?" I kept my eyes on him. "Who are you?" He swallowed. "Man, Lauren cut in fast. "This is insane. You're making a scene." I let out a small breath through my nose. A scene would be me yelling across the room. I walked over and asked a question. The man's hands slid toward the edge of the table. He was already gathering his keys like a teenager in trouble. Lauren leaned forward like she was trying to block me from him. "He's just a friend, okay? This is humiliating." I tilted my head. "For who?" She blinked, then tried the old move. The social shame move. The one that says if she's embarrassed, I'm automatically wrong. "People are looking," she hissed. I glanced around. A couple heads turned. Most didn't care. Restaurants are full of strangers pretending other strangers don't exist. I looked back to the man. "Name?" He cleared his throat. "Colin." "Colin what?" His eyes flicked to Lauren like she could rescue him. Lauren snapped. "Stop interrogating him. You're not my father." "Good," I replied. "Because if I was, this conversation would be uglier." Colin shifted. "I should go." I stepped back half an inch, giving him room, not permission. "You can. I'm not holding you hostage. I'd just like to know who's sitting in my wife's solo dinner booth." Lauren's jaw tightened. "You don't own me." I looked at her, finally. Never said I did. Colin started to slide out. His shoulder brushed Lauren's, and she didn't move away. That tiny detail landed harder than any speech. He mumbled, "Sorry, man." I gave him a thin smile. "Sure. Go ahead. Run. Guys like you always run first." He didn't answer. He just went. Quick steps. Head down. Like the carpet might open and save him. Lauren watched him leave, then snapped her eyes back to me like I'd just stolen something from her. "What is wrong with you?" she demanded. "You show up and do that in public?" I kept my voice even. "You told me you were having dinner alone. So? I can't have dinner with someone without you acting like this." "Like what?" I asked. Like I walked in and saw my wife acting like she's on a date. Her lips parted, then closed. The pause was the tell. She went straight to attack mode. "You love being offended. You always want to be the wounded guy. Maybe ask yourself what you've done to push me away." There it was. Not an explanation. Not a fact. A character assassination. If she could make me the problem, she wouldn't have to deal with the booth, the lie, the laughter. I nodded once. Okay. That single word annoyed her more than yelling would've. She wanted heat. She wanted me messy. I stepped back from the booth. "Finish your dinner. Nathan, don't you walk away from me." I did. Calm. No dramatics. I left her sitting in the warm light with her cold face, and I walked out into the night like I had a spine. And while I drove home, one thought kept repeating, steady as a turn signal. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have stopped trying to save the version of us she'd already replaced. Back at the house, the garage light clicked on when I pulled in. I went inside, hung my coat, washed my hands like it was any other Thursday night. A grown man doesn't need to slam cabinets to prove he has emotions. Lauren came in about 40 minutes later. No shaky voice. No apology. She walked through the door like she'd been delayed by traffic. She dropped her purse on the counter and stared at me. So you're just going to sulk? I didn't look up from the glass I was rinsing. I'm not sulking. I'm listening. To what? She snapped. Your own drama? I dried my hands slowly, turned, and leaned against the counter. Talk. She scoffed. You embarrassed me. You lied to me. Her eyes narrowed like she wasn't used to that being said out loud. I didn't lie. I said I needed dinner alone. And I did. I needed my space. Your space had a guy in it. She rolled her eyes hard. Oh my God. Colin is a friend from college. He moved back here. We ran into each other. I held her gaze. You didn't run into him. You were in a corner booth with your body pointed at him like you were trying to climb into his lap. Nathan, she warned, like my tone was the problem. I kept it level. You're not answering the only thing that matters. You told me alone. You weren't. She leaned on the counter opposite me, posture sharp. Because I knew you'd do this. Do what? Make it a trial, she shot back. Interrogate. Accuse. Act like I'm doing something wrong for having a conversation. I stared at her for a beat. You're really good at making the part where you lied disappear. Her mouth twisted. I don't owe you a report of every person I talk to. Agreed, I replied. But you do owe the truth when you sell me a story. Lauren's voice hardened. He's part of my life before you. And now he's back. I'm not cutting people off because you're insecure. There it was again. The trick. Label my boundary as insecurity so she can keep doing what she wants. She crossed her arms. I'm going to see him again. Probably Saturdays. Maybe Sundays too. It matters to me. I blinked slowly. So you're booking our weekends for a guy I've never met. He's a friend, she insisted. And I need something that's mine. I tilted my head. Then why lie? She stepped forward, eyes bright with challenge. Because every time I try to breathe, you make it about you. I let the silence hang. I could have argued. I could have listed every late night I worked, every meal I cooked, every plan I made for us. But she wasn't in a facts mood. She was in a control mood. Lauren's voice softened, almost sweet. Say something. You always love to talk. Come on. Tell me how betrayed you are. Give me the speech. I watched her like she was showing me a card trick. You want me loud so you can call me crazy. Her smile flickered. That's not fair. I shrugged. I'm not saying I don't care. I'm saying I'm done trying to convince you I matter. She frowned, like that wasn't one of the options. Don't act like you don't care. I didn't say I don't. I pushed off the counter. I said I'm finished begging for basic respect. Lauren's voice went low. It's not what you think. I think you asked for space. I replied, walking past her toward the hallway. And you filled it with another man. That part isn't complicated. She called after me, sharp again. It's not about anything physical. I didn't turn around. You keep saying what it's not. You haven't said what it is. I went into the guest room. I didn't slam the door. I shut it clean. Quiet. Behind me, I heard her exhale like I was the one who had betrayed something. And in the silence, I made my first decision. If she wanted space, she was going to feel what that actually meant. The next morning I got up early, dressed like I had somewhere important to be, and left the house looking like I wasn't available for games. Lauren padded into the kitchen while I was tightening my tie. She paused, eyes scanning me like she was trying to guess the new rules. Oh, she said, tone suddenly lighter. You look nice. I didn't take the bait. I grabbed my keys. I know. She blinked. Okay, where are you going? Dinner at Derek's. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still here, please hit the like button. It really helps YouTube recommend this story to more people. Thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the story. Her eyebrows lifted. Derek? Since when is Derek doing dinner? Since I texted him last night. Lauren's face tightened. We usually go together. Not tonight. She laughed once, like it was cute. Nathan, don't be petty. I put my hand on the doorknob. This isn't petty. It's organized. Her voice rose. So I'm not invited now. You're not. She stared at me like I'd slapped her with paperwork. What is wrong with you? I met her eyes. You said we needed space. I stopped chasing you around the house like a volunteer. Lauren stepped closer, anger trying to look like principal. You can't do this because of one dinner. It wasn't one dinner, I replied. It was the lie, the booth, the way you looked at me like I was the intruder. She scoffed. You're punishing me. I smiled, small and controlled. No, I'm adjusting. There's a difference. She crossed her arms. You're making a crisis. No, I said. You're trying to build a new life inside our life. I'm just not going to sponsor it. Her eyes flashed. You're so dramatic. I opened the door. And you're so predictable. I walked out while she stood there, mouth slightly open, like she couldn't believe I didn't stay to argue. At Derek's place that night, the air was normal. Sports on low, grill going, his wife out with friends. Derek is the kind of guy who builds things with his hands and doesn't waste words. We've been friends since before Lauren was a name in my phone. He took one look at me and nodded toward the back patio. You look like you didn't come for burgers. I didn't, I admitted. We sat outside. He handed me a water without asking. That's what good friends do. They don't offer a lecture first. I pulled my phone out and slid it across the table. I took this. Derek leaned in. The photo wasn't artistic. It didn't need to be. Lauren, corner booth, her body angled toward Colin, her hand mid-touch. Derek's jaw shifted. That's not just catching up. Exactly, I replied. I don't need feelings. I need facts. Derek nodded once. Who's he? Colin. That's all I got. He set the phone down carefully. All right, let's find out who Colin is. Derek grabbed his laptop like it was a tool. We dug through what we could. Lauren's accounts were tight, private, curated, like she'd been planning for people to not see what she didn't want seen. Derek muttered, of course. We pivoted, looked at mutual friends, old tags, college connections. Then Derek whistled low. Got something. He turned the screen toward me. A friend of Lauren's. Public page. Wedding photos from years back. Lauren in white. Me in a suit, smiling like a guy who thought he was winning. In the background of one photo, near the bar, was Colin. Same jawline. Same smirk. Different haircut. Same man. Derek clicked deeper. Colin Mason, he read. Albany originally. My stomach stayed calm, which surprised me. That's what happens when your brain stops hoping and starts documenting. Then Derek's face changed. Oh, that's cute. He tapped the screen again. A recent post on Colin's page. Newer. Clearer. Lauren and Colin. Same corner booth. Same warm lighting. Her head tilted toward him. His arm close enough to pretend it wasn't. Caption wasn't long. It didn't have to be. Something like, back on the same streets again. Derek leaned back. So not a random run-in. No, I said, voice flat. Not random. Derek studied me. You okay? I let out a quiet breath. I'm clear. He nodded slowly. What do you want to do? I want the truth, I replied, but on my terms, not hers. Derek's eyes narrowed. Meaning? Meaning I'm not going to argue on a kitchen floor while she rewrites reality. I'm going to make decisions. Derek didn't smile, but his voice had approval in it. Good, because if she's playing both sides, she's counting on you staying emotional. I stood up, slipping my phone back in my pocket. She's about to learn I don't negotiate my dignity. As I walked to my truck, Derek called after me. Hey. I turned. He pointed a finger at me like he was hammering in a nail. No speeches. No begging. Just rules. I nodded. That's the plan. When I got home, the house looked the same. But the marriage didn't. And that difference was going to hit her like cold water. That evening, Lauren staged a whole little movie. I walked in and the smell of dinner hit me first. Real cooking. Music playing. Candles. Even a bottle of wine on the counter like she was hosting a magazine shoot. She smiled too wide. Hey, you're home. I set my keys down. I see. She moved close, touching my arm lightly. I thought we could reset. Reset. I repeated, like I was tasting the word. Before I could say anything else, the doorbell rang. Lauren's smile got brighter. Oh, Sophie and Ben are here. Of course they were. Sophie is my sister. Sharp. Blunt. She loves me, but she loves the truth more. Ben is her husband, calm and observant, the kind of guy who speaks once and it lands. Lauren opened the door like she was greeting a camera crew. Come in. Dinner's almost ready. Sophie stepped in, looked between us, and her face did that little shift it does when she smells something off. Well, this is festive. Lauren laughed. We needed it. Sophie glanced at me. Did you? I gave a small shrug. I needed food. That's true. Lauren shot me a warning look that said, play along. We sat at the table. Lauren served like she was auditioning for Best Wife. Compliments. Smiles. Little jokes. She even brushed my shoulder as she passed behind me, like physical contact was suddenly back on the menu. Sophie watched it all like she was watching someone oversell a used car. Lauren lifted her glass. To fresh starts. Ben raised his glass politely. Sophie did too, slower. I tapped mine once, barely. Sure. Lauren jumped into conversation fast, trying to control the room. Nathan's been in this introvert phase lately. You know how he gets. He just disappears into his head. Sophie's eyes narrowed. An introvert phase? He's 42, Lauren. That's not a phase. That's a personality. Lauren laughed again, a little too high. You know what I mean. Sophie leaned back. I know what people mean when they start labeling instead of explaining. Lauren's smile tightened. It's not that serious. I set my fork down carefully. It's serious enough that you invited an audience. Lauren snapped. I invited family. That's normal. Sophie's gaze slid to Lauren. Is it normal, or is it strategic? Lauren blinked. Excuse me. Ben's voice came in calm. Sophie. Sophie didn't flinch. No, I'm curious. Because this feels like someone trying to prove a point without saying what the point is. Lauren's face reddened. We're just trying to have a nice dinner. Sophie looked at me again. You okay? I kept my voice steady. I'm fine. I'm just not interested in pretending. Lauren exhaled sharply. There it is. He's been like that. Cold. Distant. Like I'm the enemy. Sophie's eyes flicked to Lauren's hands. You look like you're juggling something. Lauren's mouth opened, then closed. What are you talking about? Sophie tilted her head. I'm talking about that smile you keep forcing. I didn't rescue Lauren. I didn't pile on either. I just placed one fact on the table like a heavy object. Apparently she's also juggling brunches, I said, tone dry. The room went quiet. Ben's eyebrows lifted slightly. Sophie's expression sharpened like a blade. Lauren snapped. Nathan. Sophie's voice went low. What does that mean? Lauren laughed again, but it sounded like glass. It means he's being sarcastic because he's mad about a friend. Sophie stared at Lauren. A friend. Lauren nodded fast. Yes, a friend. He ran into someone from college, and now he's acting like I committed a crime. Ben set his fork down. Nobody said crime. Lauren's eyes flicked to him, annoyed. You know what I mean. Sophie's voice didn't soften. Lauren, we're not here to play house. If something's wrong, say it. If nothing's wrong, stop performing. Lauren's face hardened. You're taking his side. Sophie looked at me. I'm taking reality's side. Lauren pushed her chair back hard enough to scrape the floor. This is ridiculous. Sophie stood too. Then don't make it ridiculous. Ben followed, calm. We should go. Lauren's voice spiked. Seriously? You're leaving? Sophie grabbed her coat and leaned close to me at the door, her voice a whisper just for me. I see it. You don't owe anyone a speech. Just don't let her make you small. I nodded once. I won't. When the door closed behind them, the house felt colder even with the candles still burning. Lauren turned on me like she'd been waiting for the witnesses to leave. You could have protected me, she snapped. I looked at the table. The wine. The candles. The perfect little set she built to trap me in normal. Before, I replied. One word. A full stop. She stared at me like she'd never heard that tone from me in her life. I stepped away from the table, toward the hallway. I'm done playing dinners and smiles. Lauren followed, voice rising. So what? You're giving me ultimatums now. I stopped at the hallway entrance and faced her. Yes. Her eyes flashed. You don't control me. I'm not trying to, I replied. I'm controlling access to me. She scoffed. He's just a friend. You're making a crisis out of nothing. I nodded slowly. You hit it. You lied. You dodged my eyes for weeks. You stopped touching me like I was your husband and started touching someone else like he was. She snapped. You don't know what you're talking about. I know what I saw. Lauren stepped closer, chin lifted. You're not going to tell me who I can talk to. I held her gaze. Then you're going to decide what you're married to. Her lips curled. That's emotional blackmail. I shook my head. No, that's a boundary. She tried the old line again. I'm not your property. I never said you were, I replied. But I'm not sharing a marriage with a ghost from your past. Lauren's nostrils flared. So what? You leave if I don't obey you. I kept my tone calm. You can call it whatever helps you sleep. Here's the line. If Colin is in your weekends, I'm not in your life. She stared at me, breathing tight. And instead of choosing, she did what she always did when cornered. She smiled. Soft. Fake. Controlled. Okay, she said quietly. Maybe I handled it wrong. I'm sorry. That was her first soft turn. The first little I'm reasonable move. I watched her. You're sorry for what part? Her smile twitched. For not telling you. I nodded. Good. Fix it. Her eyes shifted. I will. Then she reached for my hand like we were suddenly fine. I didn't pull away dramatically. I just didn't give her my hand. She froze, then tried to hide it. You're still punishing me. I looked at her, voice low. I'm still watching. I went back into the guest room and closed the door. Behind it, I heard her breathing change. Not sad. Calculating. And I knew the next move was coming. The next weekend, she tried a different tactic. Louder warmth. More contact. Too much too fast. Saturday morning, she walked into the guest room doorway wearing one of my old college shirts like it was some cute throwback. She leaned against the frame like she owned the place. Hey, she said softly. Can we talk like adults? I looked up from tying my shoes. We've been talking. You just don't like what I'm saying. She walked in, sat on the edge of the bed like we were back in year 2. I want to go to brunch. Just to clear my head. After that, we can do something together. Maybe that beach weekend you mentioned before. I stared at her. You remembered the weekend. She smiled, eyes bright. Of course I did. That was illusion number 2. The extra sweetness. The sudden interest in us, the moment she felt me detach. I stood up, grabbed my jacket. Enjoy brunch. Her eyes narrowed. Are you coming or not? No. Her voice sharpened. You're being stubborn. I walked past her. I'm being consistent. She followed me down the hallway. Nathan, stop acting like I'm some kind of villain. I said I'm sorry. You said words, I replied. You didn't change the schedule. She paused. What schedule? The one where Colin gets Saturdays. Her face tightened. I told you he's a friend. I opened the front door. Then treat him like a friend. Not like a secret. She stepped outside onto the porch, lower voice now, trying the intimate angle. You're really going to throw away 6 years because I had lunch with someone? I turned to her, calm. No. I'm going to protect the next 20 because you're trying to turn me into background noise. Her eyes flashed, then softened again. I don't want to lose you. I nodded once. Then stop testing how much disrespect I'll tolerate. I got in my truck and drove off. I didn't follow her. I didn't track her. I didn't beg for her location. I did something cleaner. I found out who Colin Mason really belonged to now. Derek had sent me a link the night before. Colin's profile wasn't totally private. There were older photos. A woman. Wedding rings. A last name tagged in a comment. Her name was Emily Mason. I drove to the address listed on a public record page. Quiet neighborhood. Normal house. Nothing dramatic. Emily answered the door in leggings and a sweatshirt, hair tied up, holding a mug like she'd been mid-morning. She looked at me, confused but polite. Can I help you? I kept my posture calm. Are you Emily Mason? Yes. My name is Nathan. I held my hands open, not threatening. I'm married to Lauren. Lauren's been meeting your husband. Her face changed, but she didn't explode. She just went still. That's a weird thing to say to a stranger, she replied carefully. I know, I said. I'm not here for weird. I'm here for truth. She stared at me for a long moment. Do you have proof? I nodded and pulled my phone out. Yes. I showed her the restaurant photo first. Her eyes focused like she was reading a document. Then I showed her the recent post. The same booth. The caption. Emily's jaw tightened. He told me he was catching up with an old work friend. I met her eyes. Lauren told me she was eating alone. Emily exhaled slow. Of course. I didn't gloat. I didn't lecture. I'm not asking you to do anything reckless. I'm telling you because I would want someone to tell me. She looked past me toward the street like she was trying to see her life from a distance. Then she looked back at me. Where is she right now? Brunch, I replied. That's what she called it. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still here, please hit the like button. It really helps YouTube recommend this story to more people. Thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the story. Emily gave a short, humorless laugh. Brunch. Sure. I took a breath. This part mattered. I have an idea. It's not about humiliating anyone. It's about ending the lies. Emily's eyes narrowed. What idea? I want her to see what it feels like when a lie walks into the room, I said. I want her to have to explain it with a witness who doesn't play her games. Emily stared at me like she was weighing the risk. Then she surprised me. Okay, she said quietly. I'm tired. I nodded. Come to my house. Sit with me. When Lauren walks in, we keep it calm. We let facts do the work. Emily hesitated. And then what? Then you do what you need to do with your marriage, I replied. And I do what I need to do with mine. She studied my face, then nodded once. All right, give me 5 minutes. We drove separately. She arrived 10 minutes after I did. At my house, we sat in the living room like two people waiting for a contractor, not a storm. I offered her water. She accepted. Her hands shook slightly, but her voice stayed steady. So, she said, eyes on the window. How long have you been married? 6 years, I replied. She nodded. We've been married for. Silence for a beat. Then she asked, did you ever notice it before the restaurant? I leaned back in the chair. Small shifts. She stopped looking at me at dinner. Stopped kissing me like she meant it. When I touched her, she reacted like I was interrupting her day. Emily's lips pressed together. Same. He started guarding his phone like it was a bank vault. I gave a dry half smile. They all read the same manual. Emily glanced at me. You're calm. I'm disciplined, I corrected. There's a difference. She let out a short breath that might have been a laugh. I like that. We heard the front door unlock. Lauren stepped in, heels clicking, humming like she'd just had a lovely morning. Then she rounded the corner and saw us. Me sitting in my chair. Emily on the couch. Lauren stopped so hard her bag slid off her shoulder. Her mouth opened. Who is that? I smiled, not friendly. Your Saturday plan has a spouse. Lauren's face flushed. Nathan, what is this? Emily spoke first, voice controlled. Hi, Lauren. I'm Emily, Colin's wife. Lauren's eyes widened, then snapped to me with rage. You brought a stranger into our house. I stayed seated. You brought a stranger into our marriage first. I'm just making introductions. Lauren's voice rose. This is insane. You're trying to punish me. I tilted my head. I'm not punishing you. I'm matching reality. She stepped forward, hands shaking now. It's not what you think. I nodded slowly. You keep using that line like it's magic. Lauren turned to Emily, frantic. He told me he was separated. He said you knew. Emily didn't move. He told me he was meeting a work friend. Lauren swallowed, eyes darting. I didn't know he was lying to you. Emily's voice stayed flat. You knew you were lying to your husband. That part you managed just fine. Lauren snapped back at me, sharp. So what? You're meeting with his wife now? You're going to be friends? That's your solution? I leaned forward slightly, still calm. You meet with your friend. I meet with his wife. Smarter company, honestly. Smirk less. Lauren's face twisted with anger. You're disgusting. I smiled faintly. No, I'm clear. Lauren's voice cracked into a shout. Get her out. Now. Emily stood, slow and steady. You don't get to give orders in his house. Lauren pointed at me. You set me up. I nodded once. Yes, I did. Her eyes went wide like she couldn't believe I admitted it. She wanted denial so she could play victim in her own head. I kept going, voice calm. Because you don't respond to conversation. You respond to consequences. Lauren's mouth moved like she had 10 speeches ready, but none fit this moment. Emily looked at Lauren. How many times? Lauren blinked fast. What? How many times did you meet him? Emily repeated, voice still even. Lauren snapped. We just talked. Emily's eyes didn't blink. In a corner booth. With touching. With secrets. With weekends reserved. That's not just talked. Lauren's shoulders rose like she was trying to make herself bigger. You don't know me. Emily nodded. You're right. I don't. But I know patterns. And you're standing in one. Lauren spun toward me, desperate now. Nathan, stop. Please. We can fix this. I stood up finally, slow. You had weeks to fix it. You used them to schedule him. She stepped closer, eyes glossy. You're really doing this? I looked at her, voice low and final. I already did it. Lauren's voice went sharp again, last attempt at control. Then kick me out. Go ahead. Be the tough guy. I nodded. Okay. I walked past her to the hallway closet, grabbed the small suitcase I'd packed days ago without drama, and set it by the door. Then I pointed, not angry, just clear. You can take your things and go to wherever you go on Saturdays. Lauren stared at the suitcase like it was a weapon. She shook her head. You can't just. Yes, I cut in. I can. She opened her mouth to argue again, but Emily spoke softly, almost tired. Lauren, stop. He's not playing. Lauren looked between us, realizing she didn't have a script for this. No yelling match. No apology that buys time. No social cover. Just a door and a suitcase. She grabbed her bag with shaking hands. This is your fault, she spat at me. You always act superior. I smiled slightly. I don't act. I choose. She stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. The house went quiet. Emily exhaled and rubbed her forehead. Well, I looked at her. I owe you an apology. She raised an eyebrow. For what? For telling her I was meeting you, I replied. I said it to make a point. It wasn't fair to you. Emily studied me, then a small smile appeared. Don't apologize. Maybe soon that won't be a lie. I blinked once, caught off guard. She grabbed her purse. I have my own storm to handle. I nodded, respectful. If you need anything practical, call Derek. He'll help. He's built like a wall. Emily gave a real laugh, small but real. I can see why you're friends. She walked out, leaving me alone in my living room with a silence that finally felt clean. And on Monday morning, I went to see a family attorney. Jordan Pierce's office was quiet, neutral, and boring in a way that felt like oxygen. Jordan was in his late 50s, gray hair, calm eyes, the kind of man who'd heard every story and never got dazzled by emotions. He shook my hand and gestured to a chair. Tell me what you have. I didn't give him heartbreak. I gave him a timeline. When Lauren's behavior shifted, what she said, what she stopped doing, I began. This solo dinner, the restaurant photo, the name, the public post, the planned weekends, the staged dinner with witnesses, the continued lies. Jordan listened without interrupting. When I finished, I slid my folder across the desk. Photos, dates, notes. Simple. He opened it, flipped through, then nodded. You document it. That helps. I don't want chaos, I told him. I want a clean exit. Jordan's voice stayed level. Then keep doing what you're doing. No screaming, no threats. Just steps. Separation logistics. Communication in writing when needed. And you keep your calm. I gave a small smile. Calm is my best feature right now. Jordan returned it slightly. It's also your leverage. I stood up with the folder back in my hands, heavier now with purpose. So we start. Jordan nodded. We start. When I walked out of his office, the air felt different. Not happy. Not tragic. Final. That afternoon, Lauren texted me 3 times. First angry, then sweet, then angry again. The pattern was almost funny. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because I'd already moved the story out of her mouth and into my hands. A year later, my life looks like mine again. I'm in a different place now. Quiet house. Clean routines. Work is strong, stronger, honestly, because my focus isn't getting drained by daily chaos. My friends don't tiptoe around my marriage like it's a live wire. Derek still grills on weekends. Sophie still calls me out when I'm being stubborn, but now she does it with a smile because she's not worried I'm being worn down. Lauren isn't in my living room anymore. She isn't in my weekends. She isn't in my decisions. From what I hear through the grapevine, her new normal didn't stay comfortable. When you build your life on double standards, you eventually run out of people willing to play along. The social shine fades fast when there's no foundation under it. Emily and I kept talking after that day. At first it was practical, checking in, making sure neither of us got pulled back into the same loop. Then it turned into something steadier. Coffee, walks, conversations that didn't feel like negotiations. One night she looked at me across a small table and said, "You know what's attractive?" I raised an eyebrow. "If you say mystery, I'm leaving." She laughed. "No, discipline. A man who doesn't beg for respect." I nodded slowly. "I'm done begging for anything." She held my gaze. "Good. I don't know what the future is going to look like. I'm not rushing to label it. I'm not chasing. I'm just choosing what's solid. But I do know this. Lauren wanted a corridor where she could keep the comfort of being married while shopping for excitement like it was a hobby. She wanted me available, quiet, and grateful. Instead, she got a door. And the last thing I ever said to her in that house, the line that ended the game, was simple. You wanted space. You got it. Don't come back looking for a home you wouldn't respect.